Welcome, Sean. Welcome.
Good morning, Edwin.
Good morning to you. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone else. So, Sean, there was a time after POS magazine when you left activism for a while to focus on other things. Why did you come back to activism, and why was the focus HIV criminalization?
I think when my health came back, I needed to take a break for a couple of years, and it gave me some distance and perspective on the epidemic. And one of the things I saw that was startling was the decreasing voice of people living with HIV and a commensurate rise in stigma. And there's no more extreme manifestation of stigma than when government makes laws or treats one part of society differently than another. And we saw that illustrated with HIV criminalization. So when I became re-engaged about 10 or 12 years ago, I really chose to focus on HIV criminalization advocacy and raising awareness of it and helping to find solutions to address it.
And so we're all familiar with that slogan, nothing about us without us. And Zero is all about empowering PLHIV leadership and networks, but you've actually taken it one step further by making sure that the voices and stories of survivors of HIV criminalization are heard. Why is that important, and what impact has this had?
Well, I don't think it's as much a step further, but I think it's the foundational step. It's the first step, is you hear and listen to the people most directly affected. And one of the things I found when I was trying to mobilize a domestic response around HIV criminalization is that I would find policy leaders who were sympathetic, but they had bigger fish to fry. It didn't seem like it was that important, or it only affected a few people. Or, we'd frequently, when someone would get arrested and a journalist would go to some AIDS service provider in an area to get a comment, they would say, well, there are a few bad apples in every bunch. People did not understand fundamentally the injustice involved or how horrific criminalization was for public health. So I really started with trying to mobilize leadership, was not very successful there. So I kind of turned around and started talking with some of the people I had met who had been criminalized, who had been treated unbelievably, hysterically, unjustly in the media. Most of them, the last thing they wanted to do was to talk to a camera or to a journalist. And over time, sort of built relationships amongst a group of people who had been criminalized and willing to speak out and to sort of put public faces on this. And those personal stories are what really began to mobilize people and get them to pay attention to what this meant.
Absolutely, Sean. And it's really the work that you've done at Zero, bringing those voices to the world has just been remarkable. So we've actually got an excerpt from Beyond Blame 2016 in Durban, where we're going to hear from 3 HIV criminalization survivors. Let's watch.
Lieutenant Colonel Ken Pinkeller was court-martialed by the US Army for alleged HIV exposure, despite no evidence that he and his accuser were ever alone together.
So I had 2 things against me. I was openly gay and I was openly HIV positive. Everybody knew it. But they took me to trial without anything. And the results of that trial was I spent 272 days in Leavenworth military prison, which was not fun. And since then, I've been fighting. And with the help of Edwin and Sean, I will continue that fight. It doesn't matter if there has been transmission. It doesn't matter if there was even no sexual act, or in legal terms, no means likely whatsoever to expose a person to any disease, regardless of even HIV. I cry every morning. It just, it just comes out. Then I'm standing here after a wonderful career on an international stage with such amazing people, and I've lost everything. I am now actually a burden on the very society I chose to defend. And it's wrong. It's wrong, especially when you haven't done something. There was nothing there. I've had people approach me and say, well, you must have done something. There is still that feel, even advocates, because the story is so unbelievable and so remarkable. You must have done something. And we fight that, even internally. every day.
I'm Gary Thomas. I was convicted under Idaho Code 39608 for 2 counts of attempted transfer of the HIV virus. Even though I had protected sex, I always used a condom, and I've consistently had an undetectable viral load. My sentence is 2 15-year sentences to run consecutively with a minimum of 20 years.
Carrie, yeah, he's here. He's actually here. Carrie, just for the benefit of everybody sitting here, which is amazing, I wish you could see it, could you let us know where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm at the Idaho, prison in Idaho.
So we're going to hand the phone over to Nana.
It's a great honor and an opportunity to get a chance to speak with you guys. It's amazing that people all over the world who are not only fighting to end the HIV epidemic, but are also working to end the criminalization that remains polluted at its core by the fear of HIV and the stain for people who are infected as well. You know, this stigma related to HIV produces discrimination in areas such as housing, employment, access to medical care and treatment, even what I call the pursuit of happiness. And it's the same stigma that continues to drive the toxic criminalization that harms far too many people living with HIV. As we know, I'm currently incarcerated in Boise, Idaho. I'm in the 7th year of a 30-year sentence for not being able to prove that I disclosed my HIV status to my then girlfriend. And one thing I want to be clear that today I believe that no one needs to face HIV alone. I believe truly HIV is beyond blame.
Harry, you just got a standing ovation here at Beyond Blame in Durban, South Africa.
Rosemary Namaburu, a nurse from Uganda, spent 10 months in prison after she was prosecuted following unfounded allegations that she exposed a young patient to HIV following a needle stick injury.
The police arrest was so brutal. I was paraded in front of the media and the people and the police. The newsmen were called. They took photos of me. They made headlines and they made man out of me. Very ugly, calling me murder, killer. This has totally changed my life, and self-esteem is gone, and the pride of more than 30 years in the nursing profession. In the nursing I loved so much. I want to be a face of the struggle against stigma and criminalization. I saw it all, I faced it all. I don't want anybody else to go through the same. I've lost everything I had, and I want to go back to where I was. And I need everybody's support to regain my life and stand not only to be able to put food on my table, but also to fight for the other people out there who are going through such acts of injustice.
That's just, I still feel so emotional watching that, Sean, and I'm sure I'm seeing on the chat so many people feel that too. Sean, you've worked really closely with Ken and Kerry at the Sera Project. How are they doing?
They're both doing well. Ken has been working with the Sera Project in various capacities, including on a military policy project called Positive Service, where we've had some success. Ken has also decided to go to law school, which I know just is so, there's just something an ironic justice in that, and a lot of us can't wait until Ken becomes a member of the bar and can put those skills to work protecting people with HIV. Kerry is now about 9 or 10 years into his 30-year sentence. He had 2 consecutive 15-year sentences. And just recently, Kerry's also on Sera's board of directors, have filed a petition with the Idaho State Commutation and Parole Board, asking them to consider changing his 2 consecutive sentences to make them concurrent. And if they make them concurrent, he could be potentially eligible for parole. So we're waiting to hear. We think we will hear on that sometime this month. So send lots of good energies and prayers, or whatever you have to offer, that Kerry can be let free sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Of course, so much love to Kerry, and to Ken. I know you're actually here with us, watching with us on the webinar. Love to you both.
Edwin, if I can make one quick comment about Kerry. Kerry, while he has been incarcerated all these years, he's become an incredible advocate, not just outside of the prison walls through the video and the speaking at conferences, but even within the penal institution. The prison leadership frequently looks to him for guidance or for help with younger or new inmates who are positive. It's really an incredible example of becoming an effective advocate where one is at.
Yeah, absolutely. He's amazing, as are you, and as everyone working at the Zero Project. Sean, thank you so much for now. We'll see you later for the Q&A. Oh yes, we have to do an applause. So the case of Rosemary Namaburu, the Ugandan nurse you also heard from, shocked us all. Despite being the continent with the greatest number of HIV-specific criminal laws, around 30 countries have them. Until a few years ago, prosecutions seemed to be rare across Africa. But in the past few years, we've seen a real increase in prosecutions. And so to discuss this, I'm delighted to invite 2 members of the HIV Justice Network's Global Advisory Panel to the virtual sofa.